Yes, challenges. So let's talk about the challenge. We talked about the advantages. So obviously, not everything is what's the phrase people use? Rainbows and unicorns. Not everything's great. Not everything. I liked your comment about like nothing. Anybody that's like it has to always be in person or it has to always be virtual. It's like, I mean, come on. I mean, sometimes
Mhm.
it's you got to look at what are the goals, what are the objectives, what are the it's the blended process that we talk about with people. It's like what's the best way for us to do this with what we have to offer, right? So there's challenges with that too. So challenges, give us one of your what's one of your top challenges?
I don't know why I'm feeling like this is Family Feud right here because 100%, even though I said I don't believe that, I know I've got the number one answer here. Number one answer, challenges, dependence on the network, because that I have been just very fortunate in the course of my career as, if you think of instructional technologist or the training aspect of it, I have always been on a team with the technical group. So I learned early on, you got to have enough bandwidth, you got to have a stable network. If you don't have that, it is just going to be painful and horrid for all of it. I mean, without that, you there's nothing you can do, right? But that being a challenge, the good news is like technology is way improved since back in the day where we would have to go on site and have to pay exorbitant amounts for a dedicated connection, that this is the only thing that would be on it would be the video, not even all of the conference stuff. The video would be on this one separate portion of the network. And now there are things that they can do, but make sure if you're going to do any type of hybrid that you have someone knowledgeable talking to the locations tech people. And a lot of times it gets kind of convoluted, right? Because you're talking to a third party contractor that works with the site, but you have got to have good network. That's going to be my number one, Ken. You're going to
Yeah.
challenge.
uh, yeah, no, I mean the network's a big one, and even in a virtual event, right? It's like you got people connecting in from their homes and their home offices and all that kind of thing. Now, I will say to your point, things are a lot better now than they've ever been because we've all been through the pandemic and everybody was forced to go home and forced to connect from home. People are a lot more aware of their capabilities than they were before, and so they'll know like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to connect. I'm visiting my. This is a one that comes up for me. It's like sometimes if I'm out of town, right? It's like, oh, I'm visiting family, or it's like, what's their? Yeah, my mom's bandwidth is not the greatest, so I'm not going to be able to plan anything big there. I'll be able to do things, but like to be on video, might not be able to do that. So people are more cognizant of that now. And I feel like the technologies too have become more accommodating to different levels of bandwidth where they just automatically know, okay, we this person says they want HD, but they ain't getting it because they don't have the bandwidth to be able to get it. This is stuff that'll have you don't even have to select it, right? It's just the technology will know now, okay, yeah, this dude's connected in off of his cell phone, off of like 5G. We're just going to give him this quality. And, it's still good enough quality where they can see and hear everything. It's probably just not, the video isn't as sharp and crisp as it might be on a bigger connection. But yeah. And like you mentioned this too, Roxanne. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, even in the hard times. And, I could probably count on one hand the times where just Murphy showed up and just, yeah, the power just went out right in the middle of the presentation. That's happened to us where, yeah, just right in the middle of a live presentation, the power just decided it needed to just turn off for a little bit. And there's nothing you can really do in that moment except roll with it. And we always have like backup, that's why we like to do things together too, where it's like, okay, the likelihood of both of us going down at the same time it's apocalypse, baby. We're all hurting. Everybody's going down. So we're all in the same boat. But like mostly it's like one person will drop. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me just kind of roll with this here and let's keep the train rolling and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, depends on the network. You can usually depend on it, I would say.
And I think as we were, as you were saying that, I was thinking of the like hotel or venue networks. I think they're also so much better now, and they know a lot of people are just using a lot more bandwidth. So to make that available, but just be sure to have that conversation.
Yeah, now I think another big challenge, and this can be in person too, is quality engagement interaction. Quality engagement, quality interaction. So there's lots, and I think this is why some people don't like virtual events, is because they've been to very bad virtual events, right? Where they're just throwing something up there and you're like, this stinks. The video people were looking up their nose, or the lighting's bad, or their audio's bad, or somebody's microphone keeps opening up and the person that's leading it is like, oh, everything seems to be fine. It's like, no, dude, it's you, dude. Like, fix that. Um, so yeah, it takes some intention, but it's not impossible to just be like, we like to do little huddle ups, is what we like to do, like 30 minutes before a start time, even when we're all seasoned, just to be like, hey, is everything working the way that we want? Great. Okay. Well, now we got 25 minutes to just chill out, go get our water and do everything. Or like, oh, wait, no, something's weird about your video. Turn your camera off, turn it back on. So I think that's a bigger challenge that can sometimes leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, is the quality of the engagement or interaction.
That one, as you were describing that, I had several instances as a participant in different events, and I think the word when you used intention, I think that is very important, because a lot of times when someone is doing, especially I see this in hybrid so much, that all of the attention goes to the people that are in the physical room, and a complete ignoring of anyone who's virtual. And in that, if anytime we're working with a client or an organization about how to plan this, the phrase that I like to explain to them, like, that's the worst TV possible. Like, that's a terrible show. Nobody's going to watch that. If you don't have, like, you just ran through the whole thing of it, Ken, of like, the audio, the interaction, when you think of that, of how are the people who are watching you, if they have a question, if they need help, if they want to share, how are they going to do that? And if the answer is like, we don't know, we don't care, then just do a recording, throw it up later, I guess. I don't know. That to me it's not quality. It's not a good experience. And I think the way you said it, that's what gives it a bad name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the challenge. And you mentioned hybrid, and I think with hybrid that can be the challenge. Like we talked about, best of both worlds and the advantage. Well, it can also be challenging to do that at a quality level, right? Because if you're going to have hybrid at your physical location, you need to have a camera, you need to have a good microphone. It needs to be set up a certain way where, they can see the speaker. If the audience is highly interactive, well, they need to be able to see the audience too, right? So you might need multiple cameras if it's that type of a workshop or that type of a presentation. um, Roxanne mentioned the facilitation part of it, right? It's very easy when you're presenting in front of hundreds of people to forget that there might be thousands of people or hundreds of other people virtually. And so, you got to be able to facilitate that. And so, you know, lots of times in a hybrid situation, we get called in to help, be that person that sets the equipment up, tests everything, make sure everything works. We're working behind the scenes to help facilitate that virtual group and bring them into the physical location, like, maybe we have a representative in the physical location that's being their voice.
Mhm.
Because when you were saying, like, so you ask somebody, how are you going to do that? And they're just like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. It's like, no, dude, these aren't the thing. You can't just figure this out on the fly. You can't be in the middle and just be like, oh yeah, how are we gonna like talk to all those people that are watching us on the live stream? Yeah, you got to have that figured out before you walk in there.
And I think since so many people have watched a live stream and not put one together or designed that type of event because they've watched one and they know their phone, they can do FaceTime on their phone or some type of video communication on their phone. Then when they're in that situation, if they were like, oh, how would we make this virtual? We have all these people here and we want to just put up a live stream. You're like, oh, does someone have a phone that we can just log in and stream it? And you're like, okay, yes, but then there are some other things that you still need to think about that network. You still need to think about, a little bit about the quality of it. And yeah, and it needs to be tested. It's not something you just start 5 minutes before your event. If it is a if you're like, okay, I'm just, live streaming the T-ball game for, the grandparents is one level. But if this is like, high level investor meeting, if it's, training and team building for your group, that's going to need a little more intention and planning and design to that event.